Welcome to JVR Industries. Today we're going to share part 2 of a multi-part series on Rollstock units where Andrew Eising, our Vice President, spoke at PAMP 2023 and shared all of his expertise and knowledge on Rollstocks. This second part is titled Major Components of a Rollstock Thermoformer. So if you want to learn how to quickly identify parts of a unit, major components, it will help you in diagnosing problems. It will also help you clearly and concisely communicate where the issue might be taking place with your vacuum packaging supplier. So definitely stay tuned for this. Before we get into this video though, check out the description below. I have some links down there for you to number 1, our Rollstock rebuilds that we do in-house. We totally strip down used Rollstocks and we rebuild them better than their original state. So check out that whole process in the link below. And number 2, Rollstock Inc. parts. If you need parts for your Rollstock thermoformer, check that out as well. I've got the link below. We have anything and everything you might need. And if you need help in diagnosing, we have free technical support. So feel free to call us 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. We would gladly help you out. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into major components of a Rollstock machine.
Going back to like the basics of the machine, and there is a page on page 4 where it goes through like the major components of the machine. That's really to help you with terminology. Because if you're talking to a sales guy or you're just trying to find out more information or research it a little bit more, you're going to want to know what everything's called so that you know what someone's talking about so they're not talking over your head. So what the primary premise is the film comes in, it heats the film. It only takes a second to do that, and then it's going to form your film. Some machines use air only to form. Some of them use vacuum, some can use both. So most common is going to be air. It just pushes the film after it's hot and it's pliable, it pushes it down into a mold. That's the biggest thing that we need to get everyone to understand with a Rollstock machine is that the mold dictates your pocket. So you've got your die, which is the cavity that the mold or the divider set or the filler plates, there's a bunch of terms that we can throw around, but that sits into that die box. That die box is dictated by the machine that you order. There are some machines you can change out the whole die box configuration to a different setup. That part of it is very costly. What you will change out is the divider set. So if you want a pocket configuration that's going to run a strip steak and you want it to look nice, it's going to look different than obviously a configuration that's going to run a fillet through it. I mean, it's just a totally different shaped product. Totally, you'd use a different bag just like you'd use a different mold. With that being said though, if you're doing custom and you're providing to your customers and you want to get into a Rollstock, you may not need to cater to that extent. You may not need individual steak cuts or individual cuts in every single bag. You might be able to group things. You might find out that your customers are just fine with doing 3 or 4 fillets all in a pack together, or maybe doing a couple ribeyes or a couple strips. You may find out that that is a heck of a lot cheaper and easier than switching out dividers amongst going from one product to another. With Rollstock, sometimes you're gonna rethink your process a little bit. So the time savings on a machine is going to be tremendous packing a Rollstock versus a chamber machine. Depends on the product, but you could be looking at 5-10 times faster, especially if you're doing like individual sticks. I had a customer doing individual sticks, throwing them into a 2.5 by 10 bag and labeling them. They went from that to doing a 10 across machine that ran 7 cycles a minute, and they couldn't even keep up with the machine to keep those sticks filled in those pockets. So just kind of keep that in mind that yes, you may need to do things a little bit differently, but I promise the labor savings in most, there are situations that I will tell you that is not worth it for you to go with a Rollstock depending on what you guys are doing. But in most situations, there is a tremendous savings, and it will help your business out quite a bit. So from the forming area, after it forms that pocket and puts it into a mold, it then goes into a loading station. So your loading station on a machine like this Mini that we're going to see in a little bit here, it's a couple feet long. That's plenty big enough for a good percentage of the people and a good percentage of the operations. But if you're doing something that's very manual intensive, so let's say you're filling, let's say you're doing, well here, hot dogs or sausages where you have like 4 to a pack, and you've got that machine, you know, zipping along at 7 cycles a minute. Well, to do 4 to a pack, you might be doing 4 per cycle, 7 per minute, 28 now per minute. So now you got 28 pockets. If you want to keep up with that machine, which you can slow these down, but if you want to keep up with that and get your process or your packaging time down from a day to an hour potentially, you're going to want to keep up with the unit. So in those situations, you might need a little bit more loading area so that you can have someone packing on the front side, you can have someone doing it on the back side. What's nice is I hear it all too often that the packaging side of a lot of our customers' operations is the slowdown. It's the bottleneck. I don't know if anyone else is facing that, but for a lot, it is. A lot of times the cutters are able to outpace the packers. And if that is the case, then that's where, you know, fitting a Rollstock into that might be a huge advantage for you. So from your loading area, which can be dictated by the size of the machine, you go into the sealing. Now the sealing chamber and the sealing station essentially is very similar looking to what the forming is. You got dies that come up and close off, but that can basically be looked at like a chamber machine. So you've got a die that closes, completely seals off, and at that point it's just pulling vacuum. It's pulling vacuum in every compartment of that head, especially out of the product obviously. And then once it's done pulling product, you can inject with the gas. So all these machines can get ordered with gas as an option, so you can do a gas back flush. A lot of guys aren't using that, so you would just opt not to get it from the get-go. And then a hot plate comes down and seals around the perimeter. So these right here, these are all what we would call seal grids. So each divider would have its own seal grid. So these are 4 are off a Rollstock, this is off a different make, and they all work exactly the same way. This is going to dictate basically the pocket size that you're creating. This combined with the mold that you have on the forming end. So we'll be able to get a little bit more hands-on, and actually if you look at page, kind of skipping over the forming and the loading station. So 5 and 6 is referencing the forming film and the loading area. It kind of points to where the loading area is. If you get to 7 and 8, 8's going to start getting into the seal head and what's involved with the heating of the film and sealing off of the film. Now, after it seals, the dies will come down, it'll advance forward, and then it cuts it up into whatever package that you want. So if you want them individual, you can do them individual. You can do saddle packs. Let's say if you wanted things to be grouped together for some reason. Let's say you're running like some family special deal that you wanted like to sell a group of 4 products at the same time, like all as one. Like you wanted to do 4 steaks and offer it at a discount. You know, that's kind of becoming big in like a lot of grocery stores, like these family meal deal type things where the more you buy, the more you save. If you wanted to display your product like that, where you buy 1 strip, you pay, you know, $15 a pound, you buy a pack of 4 and you're paying $12.99 a pound or something along those lines. That you can do by just deactivating knives. You can do perf knives, so if you wanted a package coming out where it just creates like a perforation, think string cheese where you open the pack and there's like 8 of them connected together, but they're just, you can just peel them apart. That's easy enough to do with changing out knives. You can do with the cross-cut knives, that's dividing it in the front to back direction. You can put just a different type of knife in there to allow you to easily tear open the package. It's called a zigzag knife. It would create like a bunch of little tear notches in your plastic. So if you just wanted an easy means for them to rip the plastic and get into the product, you could do that as well. And then after it goes through the cross-cutting knife section and cuts it in the front to back direction, now you got to cut it in the machine direction, and that's going to be your circular knives or rotary knives. All machines are going to have those. It's basically just a high spin or a high speed knife set that'll cut it into your individual rows, however you decide. So, and then the trim, there's trim take up, which I'll explain more once you actually see a machine, but there's trim that's cut off just the outer edges of the plastic. Just to make the package look a little bit more appealing, so you don't have that extra plastic on the outsides. That then gets taken up by either like a trim winding system that basically just rolls it up, or there's vacuum systems on other machines that'll actually suck it, and then you just empty it as it becomes full.
Well, we hope you found this video extremely informative and helpful on understanding the Rollstock units that exist in the vacuum packaging industry. Now, if you have any further questions, of course, you can always leave those below as well as comments on the subject matter. If you would like to speak to a representative, you can feel free to call us. We have a fully non-automated telephone service at 716-206-2500. That's 716-206-2500. And feel free to ask for Andrew himself. He would gladly discuss these things with you. If you need some technical support as well, feel free to call us. We're available from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time. So look forward to those calls. And like I stated in the intro of the video, definitely check out our Rollstock rebuilds in the link below, our Rollstock parts in the link below. And I didn't mention this before, but we also carry the forming, non-forming, and easy to peel films for your Rollstock units. So check that out in the links in the description below. Now, lastly, if you like this content, please feel free to subscribe to our channel so that we can continue to help educate you on the vacuum packaging world. We'd love to share our 50+ years of knowledge on the subject with all of you. Well, once again, thanks so much for joining us on YouTube. We look forward to sharing more of our expertise on all of this, and we'll talk to you guys soon.